Persuasive writing can be a tricky skill to master, but it's something a lot of you have been focusing on lately. Whether you've been working on persuasive writing for your crafting or creating text areas of study, or whether you're looking towards the oral presentation, persuasive writing is pretty central to the BCE. But there are lots of different ways you could approach a persuasive essay, so let's chat about it. First things first, picking a topic and deciding on a contention. Persuasive writing is all about trying to convince your readers to adopt a particular point of view or take a specific action. Really take the time to consider, what are you trying to persuade your readers of? What are you arguing for? A lot of students fall into the trap of identifying the problem that they want to write about, and then they'll discuss the nature of the problem, but they won't necessarily make an argument to their readers or try and persuade them of any particular viewpoint. So make sure you know what your argument is. Also, try to avoid simple or general statements, because if your argument is largely considered uncontroversial, it can be tricky to argue for persuasively in an engaging way. There are a few things you can do to avoid this. Firstly, if you've identified the problem that you want to discuss, you could think about proposing a particular solution to that problem and constructing an argument around why that solution should be adopted. Otherwise, you could aim to pick a more contentious or debatable topic and aim to convince your reader to adopt your perspective. Next, make sure that your idea complements the ideas of your framework. Your markers should be able to clearly see how you've been inspired by the ideas of your framework. So keep this in mind and consider how you could embed references to your framework throughout your argument. Secondly, considering purpose, context, audience, and tone. Once you've picked the topic that you want to write about, the next thing to consider is the sort of tone you'd like to adopt or the kind of argument you'd like to make. So the first thing to think about is your purpose, context, and audience. Are you writing from the perspective of a particular persona, or is your writing intended for a particular context or audience? Think about the ways these things could shape how you go about making your argument, or the kind of tone you'd use, for example. Whether you're rational and level-headed or passionate and fiery. Next, think about the styles of arguments you could use here. Good persuasive writing tends to use a combination of arguments based on logic and reason, arguments designed to appeal to the audience's emotions, and arguments aimed at establishing the author's authority or credibility on a topic. These categories are sometimes referred to as logos, pathos, and ethos. And if you have an understanding of what these styles of arguments are and you consciously aim to try and implement a range of them in your writing, your persuasive writing will definitely improve. It's also super important to consider the role of persuasive language devices in enhancing your writing. If you're trying to persuade your audience with arguments based on logic, you might want to think about using techniques like statistics, numerical data, or expert opinion to back up your points. Or you could think about weaving through your writing language techniques like analogies or metaphors that logically connect to your argument and appeal to your reader's sense of reason. For arguments designed to appeal to your audience's emotions, you could think about using techniques like emotive language or hyperbole, like personal anecdotes, rhetorical questions, or the construction of visual imagery, for example. If you'd like to establish your authority on a topic, you can briefly go over your credentials as an expert and explain to your audience why they should see you as a trustworthy source of information. Now, this is just to get you thinking about the kinds of techniques you might be able to use in your writing. Language techniques can be used in so many different ways, especially in persuasive writing, and they don't conform to any of those categories definitively. So get creative with it. When it comes to structuring your persuasive writing, you'll likely start with an intro, then you'll have 3 body paragraphs going over your supporting arguments, and you'll end with a conclusion. So let's break each bit down. For your introduction, include a hook. You want to start off by grabbing your reader's attention to make sure they know that your topic is one that is interesting and engaging. So you could think about starting with something like an anecdote or a rhetorical question. Then, you want to make sure you establish your contention really clearly. Make sure that your marker knows exactly what you're trying to persuade them of. After that, just like in any old text response essay, you want to introduce your arguments. Let us know exactly how you're going to go about convincing us of your position. For your body paragraphs, Firstly, you want to make sure that the argument you're making in each body paragraph is really clear from your topic sentence. Then, carefully consider the kind of evidence you use in support of your argument, and if you can, try and have a range of different types of evidence. Pay extra close attention to the way you link this evidence back to your argument. Make sure you've explained really clearly why this evidence helps support your point of view. Lastly, for your conclusion, you don't just want to restate your contention and your 3 main supporting arguments as you would do in any old essay. You also want to think about including a call to action, and if it fits with the tone and the context of your writing, give your reader a clear direction as to what you want from them. So do you want them to reject their old ideas and embrace your perspective? Do you want them to attend protests and sign petitions? Do you want them to spread the word to those around them? Whatever it is, make sure you include it at the end of your piece. I will end by saying that practice makes perfect, and perfecting the art of persuasive writing is a lifelong endeavor. If you need any more help, drop me a comment and let me know any questions you might have, or register for tutoring for one-on-one support.